So you've decided to listen to the Reality Czars podcast. How brave of you. Nate and Paranoid American may think that they're merely discussing cryptozoology, interdimensional realities, and crude humor. But know this, listening to this podcast puts you on a certain list, the Clinton body count, if you will. The truths they reveal are not for the faint of heart, nor the blissfully ignorant. Listen if you dare, but remember, some doors, once opened, cannot be closed. And now, your hosts, those audacious explorers of forbidden knowledge, the Reality Czars, Nate and Paranoid American.
And we're live. Welcome, everybody. This is the Reality Czars podcast, and we are host tonight, Nathan and Thomas, Paranoid motherfucking American.
Watch your mouth.
And we are welcoming Tom Sherman. Thank you, brother. I think I've just been referring to you as New Calendar. Is that what is your project called? And,
yeah, that's what I call it, is the New Calendar. And yeah, that's sorry, that's what I call it, man.
I totally thought Nate fat fingered the invite when he sent that to me, and I was like, "New Calendar? What you didn't have enough time to fill in the rest of the invite?" But now it makes sense. All right, I got it now. You're off the hook, Nate.
You came highly recommended. I can't even talk, dude. What the hell is wrong with me? I barely cracked open a beer and have had a sip. All right, start this over. You came very highly recommended from our good buddy. Shout out to you, Brandon Thomas. We love you, buddy. And so I'm really excited to talk to you tonight. And like I said, I was going to listen to it. I was going to do some research, and then I decided I want to come in a virgin, and I wanted you to pop my cherry, Tom Sherman. So perfect. I'm excited to listen to this. I am very on board with the idea of our time being co-opted and manipulated, and the timeline that they're telling us is fake and gay, and they're hiding things from us. Is this what you're talking about, or is this something entirely different? Anyways, take the carpet. Tell us what is going on, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of all of it. I mean, I started this project a long time ago, over a decade now, and it was just one of these things where I was doing a bunch of research. I wanted to be an inventor. I wanted to live in a warehouse like all the cool people do, and just kind of explore some interesting topics of research. And so time was just one of those things that I always kind of looked into. And then sort of like the further down the rabbit hole you go, the more you look into, what is the calendar? What is time? Why do we do what we do every day? The more you realize nobody really knows what system we're in, what we're using it, how we're using it. And also at the same time, the people that set it up were people in positions of power who at some point it came to their realizations that, it's in their best interest to manipulate people's time, to use it to control them as much as possible. And so, yeah, we're basically the calendar as we know it. We're living in a 3,000-year-old system that has been built piecemeal by politicians and religious heads of state, and it's kind of created this chaos that we all live in right now.
Yeah, man. I mean, as far as the idea of time, I've always had a problem with, and then someone summed it up pretty well for me about this whole idea of, I guess it was around the time of, Thomas, what is that called? I always go to you, Thomas. So what is that called?
You always give me no content. You're just like, what's that thing called?
Yeah. So the Industrial Revolution is when they started really kind of taking men completely out of nature and kind of turned you into a cog in this big wheel that is industrial capitalism. And then you kind of lost your identity and kind of just turned into just a pawn in this fucking crazy thing. And the way that it had been explained to me before this is that, I don't know if this is true or not, but water was kind of gross. So people mostly drink beer. and for the most part, and so people were kind of day drunk all the time, and then they weren't like necessarily showing up at a particular time. And if I had a factory, I needed a whole bunch of peons to show up just to move this widget. And so this is when they started introducing the idea of like putting clocks everywhere and giving people timepieces. And like they weren't only just giving you a timepiece because it was like a present, but it was also like, I expect you to be here on time. This is going to tell you when to show up. And this whole idea of just really taking people out of nature, because before that, like if we were in more of an like agricultural setting, we would know by just like basically the sun would be our clock and tell us when to wake up, when to go to bed, when to plant things. And like there would be some passed down knowledge and things like that, but it would be more I guess more natural. And us being taken out of our most kind of natural environment and kind of stuck into this, again, hellscape, industrial fucking whatever the fuck it is that's turning into this AI nightmare that Thomas loves. Thomas is going to play devil's advocate and gives him a boner watching the enslavement of humanity. But
but as long as it's convenient, that's my thing though, is that I'm a huge fan of efficiency and convenience. So I can always see the silver lining. Like even if we're all being, kind of like bludgeoned and forced into the gas chambers, as long as it's like nice and orderly and like the numbers follow like a certain rhyme and reason, like I can get behind
as long
that.
as I know which train to get on, like
exactly. As long as those trains are on time. That would be the worst thing ever, right? To know that you're headed off to like on the death trains, and then it's like running behind.
It's
and
running late. Like,
gonna show
up. I'm Mexican though, dude, and like I swear to God, there's something about beaners that have been fighting this intrinsically. Like I can't show up to things on time. I'll try. It'll be like somebody's birthday, and like I would have planned this weeks ahead of time, and there's something about my DNA that fucks me up, and I cannot show up on time. I've showed up to like my boss.
Like you blame it on your DNA. That's the best. Like,
it's true, dude. I'm spectacular. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
I mean, no lie. If I'm going to a new job, even if I know where it's at, and this sounds completely irrational because I know it is, but I'll leave 2 hours early, even if it's only 15 minutes away, because I swear, like my first day at Disney, I got hit by a car on the way there. And I had left 2 hours early, and I still got there like right on time, even though I had gotten hit and I had to wait for the cut. Like, so it makes sense to me now, but still, like if I ever have something like really important, I'll go and I'll just park. Like the worst case scenarios, I'm in the parking lot for an hour reading a book.
Thomas, that's that good white Protestant work ethic, and it's
I'm a Roman Catholic.
You're the reason why the trains are going to load us on to where we're going to get loaded on time. I'm the one fighting back.
Well, you're just gonna make it a little bit late. You're not gonna stop.
I'm gonna make it a little late. I'm gonna jump in front of the train and make it fucking derail. I'm gonna save a few people. But Tom, is any of this what we're talking about tonight? Like this industrial kind of
we're close.
Taking away the
I want to know how the Kodak calendar fits into all this, because the Kodak calendar talking about just corporate efficiency being beaten down on us, that feels like that could have been like the peak, but I guess collectively the world was like, no, we don't want that. And I still don't understand why.
Well, so yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, basically in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, there was a time we were at a place where we could question what the calendar system was. And there was actually in the League of Nations, the forerunner to the United Nations, they held calendar contests to try to, because there's basically the problem with our current system is it's like death by 1,000 cuts. And if we're going to use this trains running on time analogy, the Gregorian calendar is actually really more up your alley, Nate, where it's just constantly, slowly keeping people off schedule, out of sync, out of whack with time and nature and our annual rotation around the sun. And what the new calendar is it's a cleaner, faster, more efficient mechanism to track, analyze, and calculate time. So I don't know. I kind of got lost on a few different tangents here, but yeah. So Kodak. So the Kodak calendar. What's interesting about that is basically there's like two main proposals came out of all this different uh, reworking of the calendar system back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. The Kodak was one of them, which is to take the year and say 4 weeks in a month, 4 7-day weeks, 28-day months. And then that means you can have 13 months in a year. But then you have one extra day left over at the end of it. And then the other system is basically a similar one where they anchor the months in a different way. Hold on, I'll have to pull up my research on that one that some lady named Elizabeth Achilles came up with. But long story short, here's the issue with the Kodak calendar, in my opinion, is basically when you're what we're trying to do here with a calendar is take the time of the year, right, from day 1 through day 365, trying to take that and divide it into sensible units, just like we do with distance, just like we do with weights, and any other measurement system that we use, temperature. It's built on sort of principles of creating small units that turn into larger units, that then turn into larger units that you can then take and either build up into the largest units of that system. So the problem with the Kodak calendar is 4 or 13 months that are all 28 days long works out for the most part, but then also to divide the year into quarters, which people still do in that system, you'll have to do 3 months and 1 week. So then all of a sudden you're starting to divide units up into smaller bits. Actually, here, let me throw up my
Yeah,
little PowerPoint, and then I'll maybe this will help with some clarifying some stuff. So, all right, ice 32 degrees, a foot 12 inches long, a pound is 16 ounces. How long is a month? Nobody knows, right? It could be 28 days, 30 days, 31 days. It's pure anarchy, really. And so here's what I ended up doing was, if there's 365 days in a year and we're trying to divide it into even groupings, we have to figure out what its base factors are. And so you can only divide 365 evenly using 5 and 73. That's it. There's no other numbers you can use to divide time, annual time, evenly. So can't divide it into 4 seasons. That's 91 days, 0.25 days. So then that would mean, are we starting and stopping units 6 hours through a day? It doesn't work from a practical measure. We're trying to work with whole units here. So that doesn't work. 365 divided by 7 is 52 weeks in 1 day. And this kind of goes to the problem with the Kodak thing too, where what this does is, since the year isn't fully divided, then we get this like slow rotation of time across years, where today's the 16th of January, we're all hanging out, and it's a Tuesday, but then next year it's going to be on a Thursday, the 16th of January, or it's going to be on a Friday, or it slowly shifts throughout time because it's not fully contained. The week system isn't fully contained within the yearly system, and that's because we had a Roman calendar, and then halfway through, one of the Roman emperors said, "Hey, we're taking the Judeo-Christian 7-day week, and we're laying it on top of it," and it started creating this like sort of slow wheel effect. Can't divide it by 12, can't divide it by anything except 5 and 73. So I kind of took that information and basically didn't do much with it. I didn't know what it meant. If 5 and 73 are bad numbers to work with, it doesn't really make sense. So I just kind of set it aside until one day I had a dispute with my bank about a bill payment. And they said that Saturday, I had like 5 days to pay the bill, 5 work days. And they overdrafted my account twice because they said Saturday was a weekday because they were open. And I was like, that's bullshit. Saturday's not a weekday. We all know it. And so anyways, they took my money and I went home. I was pissed. I'd been doing this research for a while and I'd been to this 5 and 73 thing before. I didn't know what it meant. So I took a calendar off the wall and I decided to label each day of the year from 1 to 73, starting on the winter solstice. All right. So I started on December 21st, went out 73 days, and that was March 3rd was the end of that. And I was like, all right, that kind of lines up from, winter to spring starting in March, all that sort of good stuff. The second season went from March 4th until May 15th. And I was like, yeah, that lines up with spring. And then that's the Memorial Day, unofficial start of summer type deal. It's close to that. Then this is when it really kind of blew my mind and became the eureka moment. Was the exact middle day of the middle season of the year then landed on the summer solstice. And it was like, oh, time actually, if we step back and let it, exist as it is versus trying to impose our will on it, it actually makes a lot of sense. And, it actually can help guide us through the year with precision and accuracy a lot more than our current approximations of it do. So anyways, that's so that started on May 16th and went through July 27th. And then the fourth quote unquote newly discovered season of the year, I like to call it autumn, and it goes from July 28th until October 8th. It's kind of like an inverse of spring. So like around here, that's our late season crops are coming in, the sweet corn, the watermelon. We're getting hurricanes instead of nor'easters. The annual migration patterns are starting to reverse. And so then that's the fourth season of the year. And then October 8th until December 20th, or October 9th to December 20th is your classic fall. Leaves turn brown, fall on the ground. And then the cycle starts all over again. So using this system, what I've been able to do is create first, it fully encapsulates the year. So one of these 73-day periods is a full fifth of the year. So we can take and start measuring time at any given point in time and create a full year. Whereas like right now, if we wanted to start measuring something, say we're tracking, some sort of data, and we're starting in the middle of, August, like how do you track a year from the middle of August? Do you have to do a 30-day month and then a 28-day month and then a 31-day month? It's insanity what we're living in. Anyways, so yeah, winter, cold. This is an apple tree. I had a buddy of mine, David Luna, draw me an apple tree throughout the seasons of the year so that it didn't look too crazy when I was giving people hand drawn stuff out of a manifesto that I'd wrote. And my friends were like, hey, if you don't want to get arrested, you need to get some better art. Anyways, winter, cold, dark, long nights. Spring, you know what I mean? You get the flowers, the buds on the trees. Summer, everything's fully leafed out, just trying to soak in as much sunlight as possible. Autumn, you get the fruits on the tree of this apple tree, this theoretical apple tree, and then the leaves turn brown, fall on the ground. And then right here, so this is how we look at our current year in our current standards with the 4 seasons. This is how the same data, which is the daily amount of sunlight viewed through the new calendar system. And so that's kind of where the crux of all this is like, we can look at the same data, and the way we're dividing it now is it creates more confusion. It obscures any trends more than it illuminates trends. So that's kind of the quick and dirty pitch of what the new calendar is. Like I said, when I was going through it, I mean, it started 3,000 years ago by Romulus and Remus, after they were raised by wolves, and slowly just got co-opted by the Roman Republic, other politicians, temples, the Pope, the Catholic Church, and then It's just one of those things that we're indoctrinated into. That's one of the first things you learn in kindergarten is there's 4 seasons and there's 12 months and these are the days of the week. So it's but then we kind of stop learning about time after we know how to tell it and know, when somebody tells us what to do and when to go do it. And yeah, we've just kind of lost a lot of knowledge about what it might be and how we can use it for our own advantage as people versus like you said, cogs in the machine or mechanisms or peons or peasants.
Is this something that's already represented in, say, like an old farmer's almanac, or like, because I'm just imagining if you were a farmer and using the farmer's almanac, wasn't that based more on observation of the actual seasons versus what Kodak or Rockefeller, whoever was telling you?
Yeah, I mean the farmers are definitely one of the first people that intuitively get it. Farmers, people that are outside all the time, outdoorsmen, hunters, fishers, that sort of thing. Um, and yeah, I mean it's a lot closer to like a farmer's almanac than but you know what I mean? It's still most of the time people are using the 4 seasons because they like to use the equinoxes as those anchor points of the even sunlight in spring and in autumn. So, but what that does is, as you can maybe see out here, I know it's kind of here. I'll scroll back. So what ends up happening is when you divide the seasons or the year into fourths, you get winter is a 90-day season, fall is a 91-day season, spring and summer are 92-day seasons. So you know what I mean? You get these units that end up being non-comparable to each other, which at this scale with it's just one day off, it's not too much. But here's another way that the calendar kind of screws with you from a farming perspective, at least, is I talk to a lot of folks and what they like to do is they like to set their schedule by a weekend, right? Where it's like, hey, it's the first weekend in March. That means I'm going to plant. But when you do that, the first weekend of March could mean March 1st and 2nd. It could also mean March 7th and 8th. So then all of a sudden you're one year you're planting seeds on, March 8th and it's much more temperate out. And then the second year you're doing it and it's March 1st, it's still in the frost line or whatever. All of a sudden you're getting these variations that if you look back on your records, it's exactly the same. You planted on the first season in March or the first weekend in March, but in actuality, you can have this variance by up to a week. Same thing's going to happen next year with the holiday season. So Thanksgiving this year was on November 22nd. The longest period of time you can have between Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's was this year, where you can get all your shopping done, all the cleaning, going to all the parties, getting all that stuff done. And then next year, you're going to have a full less week to do everything that you did this year. And that's, the holidays are already one of those times where people have more heart attacks. They die more from heart attacks because it's stressful. And now you're going to have to do all that stressful stuff in, one less week's worth of time. It's, that's the sort of death by 1,000 cuts that I talk about when I talk about the Gregorian calendar.
That's absolutely fascinating, man. Yeah, there's so many different places where my mind goes with this. But essentially, am I hearing that every single day with your new calendar? So let's say, like my sister, she happens to have her birthday. Sometimes it lands on Thanksgiving. Some years it doesn't. This year it did. By your new calendar, her day, like whatever that third Tuesday is going to be, it's going to be that third Tuesday if we are going by your calendar from here on out, right?
Yes, it'll be an anchored,
weird staggering. Yep. There's no more leap years.
There is leap years.
A lot of sense to me.
There would still be leap years because leap years are a little bit different, but there wouldn't be. But the days would be anchored. So, like I sell a wall calendar of this. At the end of the year, you just flip it back to the first page of the year, and December 21st is always going to be a Mercury day.
So you just have to buy one?
What's that?
You just have to buy one?
Just have to buy one. It'll last from now until 9,099
Tom,
and
you're a
beyond.
bad capitalist.
That's what everyone always says. Everyone always says, what's the deal? You're only, after you sell one, no one's ever going to buy it again. Dude, my market cap is 7 billion people, 8 billion.
Yeah.
If I sell 8 billion copies and I never sell another one again, I'm fine with it.
Once
please.
you start to catch on, and I really hope this does, it makes a lot of sense to me. I like it, but I hope that you start selling it and you're going to have different pictures, maybe, I want you to market this, and I want you to become a dirty fat capitalist too. And I hope that you cash out and make some serious dough. Put yourself in a bikini in 1 year, and then 1 year, you're gonna have to do some sexy man shots or something.
Right.
But I hope this works out for you, Tom.
It's possible. I don't know if I'll be on the sexy fireman shoot, but yeah, we can find a fire company somewhere probably.
Dude, I like it. Honestly, dude, if I were you, I actually would be going down that route, just making some funny ones. You could, I bet Brandon Thomas has some sweet abs. You could probably get some sweet shots of Brandon and stick them. You'd probably do a whole calendar with Brandon. 12 months. How many months does this break up the amount of months?
So,
is there still 12 months?
Yeah, there's going to be, there's 10 months in a year. And basically,
okay.
There's a 36-day month now,
which just makes so much more sense, honestly.
It's a lot easier to comprehend. It's a lot easier to count along on your fingers. It's a lot easier to it's just a lot more natural of a system because there's 5, like the Fibonacci sequence. 5 is a big number throughout nature, and so to some degree it makes a little more sense to have 5 seasons. And then anyways, so you take the 73-day season, and the way we're currently looking at it is 2 36-day months, which turn into the early or late part of the season. So this first half would be early winter, the second half would be late winter. And then there's one day right in the middle, the 37th, which is contained within the season, but it's not contained within the structure of a month, a week, or anything like that. And so it's just the midpoint. And so what I like to do with it, it's a great time to kind of look back on the month that's occurred, the early winter, early part of the season. And then it's also a good time to look forward to the late part of the season and say, what were my goals at the beginning? Where am I now? What can I do? It's also a good time to kind of do some if you need to schedule out whatever, your some car maintenance or your spring cleaning of your house or what, what I mean? Just these sorts of activities that you don't need to do all the time, but once, 5 times a year, it's good to have a day to just kind of step back, relax, and take care of the stuff that needs to get done. That's tough to during your normal cadence of a week. So these are 36-day months with 4 weeks in a month, still 9 days in a week. And, I like to name them. I name the days after the planets. So Mercury Day through Pluto Day. And what's super cool about having a 9-day week is then the weeks become divisible. So
how many the only thing I care about is how long is my weekend. If I've got
that's what most people ask. It's a good point.
I better get 3 days off, dude. Don't be fucking with me.
This is the deal. This is the deal. I tell people, people are like, oh, 5 days, then I'm going to work for, 5 days on, 4 or 7 days on, 2 days off. I can't do that. That's not what we do. We ask for the 2 extra days to be weekend days. So we're going to ask for 5 days on, 4 days off. The fat cats are going to be asking for 7 days on, 2 days off. And then the compromise is 6 days on, 3 days off, which actually would give you, if you break down the math, it's a better ratio than a 5 days on, 2 days off that we currently get.
I used to work at a giant conglomerate, like this giant mega corporation, and I was a subcontractor. So I didn't work for them, but I worked at them. Okay. And for the majority of the people that work there, they would work a 4-day on, 3-day off, work 3 days on, 4 days off. They would switch back and forth. And I loved it, dude. They're working 12-hour days. And that seemed I mean, that's fine for me because I've been in the restaurant industry my entire life. So what I would normally do is be working like 6 12s every day,
Mm.
or every week. But I like that idea, the 3, the 4. But what you're saying is the 5, the 4. That sounds fantastic to me as well. I met one psycho that, to me, this sounded pretty goddamn amazing and awful. He was working 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off,
Mm.
2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. And it's almost like a fucking vacation every month,
Yeah.
but also hell.
Right. Yeah, that's a tough one. I know a lot of people around here that we got a hospital, and a lot of people work 9 days on, 9 days off. I think that's a good, yeah. I'm always interested in scenarios like that, better arrangements than the one we got. But yeah, I think the 6-3 is pretty good. 6 days on, 3 day weekend is good. But also, what I would like to do if I had, if I was working somewhere and I had the option, I would do a 2 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on, 1 day off, and
Tom,
just kind of
shut
like,
your goddamn mouth. I hate split fucking days off.
oh, I would
That's
love that.
fucking terrible. I
I
need
would
two
love
days.
that.
How can I ever fucking relax? I need the one fucking day to actually like sleep in and kind of catch up on all the fucking sleep that I haven't got at all because I'm a goddamn maniac.
Well,
And then the next day I can actually function and do things that require functioning around the
yeah,
house. I would
yeah,
never,
that's a good
like, my
point.
life would be more chaos than it is now.
Yeah,
Jesus
I
Christ.
guess that's a
Shut
good
your
point. I
goddamn
don't
mouth.
know.
Never bring that up again.
I would still reserve a couple, like you say, yeah, those 3 day chunks are clutch. I mean, a 3 day period you can get a lot done in, and you, like you say, recovering one day, yeah, hanging out the next day, and then preparing for the week ahead to the final day. That could work out. That could be a good way to go.
Tom,
I just,
I'm curious. I just want to throw something past you because I'm sure, like, you've probably dug into all of this before and you've heard this a million times. But I've definitely heard this, a bunch. Like the whole idea of, like, how I don't know how conspiratorial you get with this stuff, and so, like, I've definitely heard, like what we call October now, right, or even September, right? September is the ninth month, but Sept means seventh.
right.
Oct means eight, even though and then nine. It
Yeah,
just, it looks like they have, there's like evidence that they fucked with the calendar.
right,
What do you think that they're like October is 10, December deck is 10. Oh,
right.
sorry, you know what I'm saying?
No,
And
I'm
it's
yeah.
12 months.
October's the
Yeah,
means 8, but it is the 10th month. There is
what is going on with that? If you have any historical background on that,
yeah.
and
So
or
so
yeah,
so
go for
what
it.
happened is, when the calendar was first set up, it went from March through December, and September through December were the 7th through 10th months, and so it all worked out. Um, and then actually July July was sextilis and June was pentilus. I think, I think we went from 5 through 10. Um, but anyways, what happened is they added 2 months in. They added January and February, the couple hundred years into the use of this calendar, because the originally it had like 300 something days in it, and so they added 2 months to get it a little bit closer to 365, and they added in January and February, and started the year in January and February, and didn't just decided not to rename those final months of the year. And so
Hmm.
basically for almost the entire history of the calendar, we've been living in this cognitive dissonance of living in a month named 8 that is in spot 10. And I totally think, you know, I like it's tough. Like I'm totally conspiratorial about it. I don't have any evidence. I don't have any evidence, but I think that for sure that people in power understand that it's if you're able to make somebody say, you know, 8 is 10, and have it eventually make it make sense to them, or not question it, then you have so much power over them, over their mind, over, that's what the calendar is sort of this, and in general all of society invisible network of rules and things that we've created. So the
Dude,
more that you're able to make stuff that doesn't make sense and convince people that it does make sense, the better off you are, and the worse off they are. I
have
think.
you ever watched the movie Trading Places?
Yeah.
So in the movie, there are like a couple rich billionaires, and they make a wager over a human, and they say, and they're just betting $1, right? And to me, so much of history and or I think like sometimes when things don't make sense, I think that it's just rich cunts, rich powerful cunts that kind of just say like, "Hey, I bet I can make that happen. I bet I can make these retards change time." Like sometimes I really chalk it up to just like just ego and animus, to just like psychopaths, honestly. uh like because I think about it too, like why in the fuck. Now maybe you actually have some historical background of this as well, and so you can actually bring facts to my just wacky fucking tinfoil hatting. But like Thomas, what do they call that when it like they supposedly say this was for farmers when we take the when we do the time change, Thomas, what is that
Daylight
called?
savings.
Daylight savings. But then I've also heard these wild stories that it actually had something to do with war, and that this was like something to do with like a battle plan, and that they moved time back up. They literally moved time back an hour to do some fucking attack to fuck with someone. Do you know what I'm talking about at all? Does this ring any bells? Why are we doing
Um,
daylight savings time? And is there daylight saving time in your new calendar?
so yeah, I'm adamantly against daylight savings time, or for it. I'm not sure which one. Look, here's what I'm saying: pick one and stick with it. You know what I mean? Like, like I don't care if we observe, a later sunset or an earlier sunset, but changing twice a year is bad. It's bad for people. It's bad for society. It's bad for America. I'm against it. That said, I don't really deal with clock time. The new calendar, because from a second builds into a minute, 60 minutes build into an hour, 24 hours build into a day. So like that as a system makes sense. From a year builds into a decade, decades build into centuries, build into millennia. So that makes sense. But then it's this complete breakdown between a second or a day in a year. That's what I've been focused on, and trying to just make something make a little more sense in between those two. Um, so so I'm against daylight savings. That said, it still gets observed in this calendar system because clock time is a little bit different, and it's just easier to stay on track with everybody else in society, and instead of saying declaring myself like Arizona and just not observing it, which is an option.
Honestly, dude, that's probably the only good thing about Arizona.
I've never been to
So shout out to
Arizona.
Arizona, because like fuck the government telling me, oh, time's different. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, no, it's
Good for
it's
you,
it's
Arizona.
it's horse hockey, and I don't really know what. I know Ben Franklin was big into it. I forget what it. I think his reasoning was more along the lines of, because you had to burn candles, back then, instead that was their form of power, and so I think his reasoning was setting commerce to match better with the sunrise and sunset would save energy and save expenses and candles and all that sort of stuff. It's pointless these days since we're in an electrified world and we live 24/7 anyways.
Yeah, that's
um
interesting. I looked it up while we were talking, and it's talking about the daylight savings time dates back to Imperial Germany, and its purpose has shifted over the decades. An extra hour was good for war production, and moreover, it saved valuable energy for lighting during World War One. So the Germans were the first to adopt this, and because it helped them save energy, and it got them to work on time earlier to start building the war machine. The British followed suit almost immediately, having rejected it for many years. So this actually was a war thing. Yeah, I read that somewhere, or someone had told me, and I thought it was interesting that it is the goddamn war machine is why we started doing that, and we blame farmers now.
Well, and I do know this is what's interesting about that is the reason farmers are so associated with daylight savings is they were actually against it. They were adamantly against it, and so but then they were against it so much that they got associated with it, and now everyone's like, "Oh, those farmers," you know what I mean? They wanted daylight savings, and that's I didn't know it had the defense industry.
I'm a farmer, dude, I'm doing my own goddamn thing. I'm taking care of my animals. I'm taking care of my food. It's like when the sun rises, that's when I wake up. Like, why in the fuck do we have to change why do we have to change the clock for it?
Yeah.
Like, it sucks for the farmer. Like, I guess that goddamn rooster is going to fucking wake up everybody an hour earlier because the sun is coming up. But that's just part of just waking up when the sun is telling us to, right? That's more of that natural intrinsic, and probably they do wake the fuck up when that happens. And the rest of us, like morons that just go inside of a cubicle all day, it doesn't matter what fucking time it is. I have blackout curtains anyways. I took a Xanax last night. I'm not waking up early. I'm gonna wake up and like maybe I'm gonna jerk off to my favorite porn star before I get up and shower, and then put a bunch of weird fucking chemicals that block my fucking natural hormones on me, and then I'm gonna drive in for an hour and a half to get to work early. Thomas is gonna leave 3 hours early because he needs to be there 2 hours ahead of time. And he's going to sit in the parking lot and read his.
Well, I do remote now, so that's no longer an issue.
It's, you know what I mean? It's crazy. I do think that humans we're slowly conditioning ourselves to be further and further away from nature. And you know what I mean? Like, the most delusional species on the planet are humans. I mean, you know what I mean? There's no other animal out there that doesn't think it's an animal. You know what I mean? Like what are we doing? And even if, you know what I mean, even if we are better than all the other animals, which is
I'm a fucking water balloon with anxiety. Like that's what fucking humans are. Like, we're walking around and we're thinking way too goddamn much. It's awful, dude. What the fuck are we doing?
My theory is that humans were rejected by the animal, like some ape had like this gross looking hairless thing and just rejected us, and then we
got picked last for a kickball, basically. And
yeah, we're like, exactly. And then we were like, we'll show you.
Think about it. We're fucking like, we don't have enough hair, so we're like constantly cold. We're kind of like goofy. We need fucking shoes on our feet. We're like trying to hide under a structure. Like, the rest of the animals are like, you fucking weird pussy.
You know, I'm glad the turtles get straws stuck up their noses now. If that's how we're gonna play it, through those stupid ass turtles.
And that's what happened. Is we got bitter.
Fuck your
and
couch.
We were like, fuck this planet. I'm not a human. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve weather. I should be able to be
goddamn smarter than you.
I'm curious, where are you at spiritually on this, Tom? Do you think that, like, God made this planet for man to, just have complete rule over, or are you not in the same thinking?
My spirituality has completely deepened throughout this whole research and project. It's just one of those things that, like, the earth, the universe, the systems that we live in are just like such beautiful, pristine objects that we don't understand and have no idea what any of it is and means, that it's just, you gotta stand back in awe. What's that?
Absolutely, dude. No, you're absolutely right. As far as like absolutely everything working out, and when you bust out your calendar and the exact half of the year, here's the winter solstice, here's the summer solstice, and you start looking at all these mathematical equations, and then it all fucking actually evens out. You're like, there's no way that this is not like
Yeah.
made by some intelligent design. Like I'm totally on board. And also, Lucifer is a cunt. Like, I don't want the knowledge of good and evil because then I wouldn't have to fucking like shave my face and go to work. Fuck you. I can just be some faggot hippie in the Garden of Eden right now, just pounding puss and just eating fucking apples off a tree. Not that apple, because God told me not to. You son of a bitch.
I mean, it's one of those things when you talk to, I've talked to a bunch of physicists because like, I don't know, sometimes that's just what I do. But you talk to the good ones and the ones that have been doing it a long time, the longer they've done it, the more, uh, the more of deeper belief they have in higher power and that sort of thing, because in the end, they don't even know what's going on either. You know what I mean? Everyone says, "Oh, the Big Bang," but if you ask somebody what happened before the Big Bang, they tell you they don't know what happened. They don't even know what physics was like before the Big Bang. They have no answers. And
Dude, to me, the Big
science as a
Bang.
field was created, to explore the face of God. You know what I mean? That's why monks were the first ones developing genetics with the pea plants, and a lot of great discoveries
Yeah.
occurred through scientific research in the church. And you know what I mean? That's just kind of where we're at. Is there's you know science and religion are not opposites. They're actually they work hand in hand very well. Um, it's just sad that there's been this sort of breakdown between the two over the past
Well, and I
couple
think that
centuries
that
and
was
millennia.
absolutely manufactured because when you look at like the origins of like Charles Darwin and things like that, he had an idea already and he was trying to prove his idea. He was trying to prove his theory and he was trying to disprove God. But because so much of this always comes down to like the God of the gaps arguments, where there's so many gaps in our like knowledge and how did this come to be. And so like people like try to pigeonhole and try to straw man this argument that people are just like, well, it's God, right? So God fills in the gaps. But then you also can turn it right around on them and you're like, okay, like you said, you're like, well, how the fuck did the Big Bang happen? Like, what was the Big Bang? And then how did the first cell split and turn into something that like there was absolutely nothing, you're telling me, and then all of a sudden there was something. And like to me, it's like it takes more religious belief, more like to actually believe the mainstream narrative of the Big Bang Theory. To me is more fucking wild and takes way more faith than believing that like, wow, this was actually constructed by some intelligent design. Like, I don't know, man. And then at the end of the day, it's always the answer is fuck, I don't know.
Right. And
Fuck, I don't know. But
and then the real kicker of it all is that's why the powers that be, they don't really like it when a population is scientifically literate or spiritually literate, right? And
yeah,
so it's in everybody's best interest at the who's pulling who are the gatekeepers and keeping us in place. It's always in their best interest to keep us more ignorant, dumber, and less likely to ask questions than it is to have us enlightened and what I mean, show us the path and the truth. And that's why, like, in the calendar, out of all the adoptions and things that have occurred over the past 3,000 years, like only one or two have actually been in the best interest of people. And there's only one that really sticks out to me. It was a guy, it's called the Flavian Reforms. This guy's named Gnaeus Flavius. He was a clerk in a temple. And so currently this temple in Rome, ancient Rome, was running the calendar. And what they would do is at the beginning of every month was called the calends, which is the root for calendar. And they would release that month's schedule, that month's, for the commerce of the market and all that sort of good stuff. So, but then what the temple started doing is in years that they that there was a ruler that they liked, they would extend the month by a few days. So then if I'm just a peasant and I'm like, hey, we should have a new calendar by now, they'd be like, oh, no, you just lost track. Like, don't worry about it. New one's coming out soon. And then so then by the end of the year, they would get up to a full extra month's worth of ruler from somebody that they liked. And then they do the exact opposite. If there was a ruler in charge that they didn't like, they would shorten each month by a few days. And so they would get them out of power quicker. And so what Gnaeus Flavius did was he said, no, we're going to print the calendar, all of it, out at once. And it's going to help for commerce. It's going to help for the casual person, like just keeping track of their lives. And he got a huge amount of pushback from within the temple because they were like, do you know how much power you're giving up?
I'm surprised he didn't get fucking killeried from back in the day.
Right?
Their version of. Because how much power did those calends have when they could like, hey, this is what's up this month?
Yeah.
You don't fucking know. Like, this is what's going to happen this time.
Before Pope Gregory, Julius Cesar was the last one to enact major calendar changes, and within a year he got murdered by the Senate. You know what I mean? And so there's definitely, and he didn't even, one of the things he wanted to do was move it from the start of the year from January 1st to December 21st, but he couldn't because there was a full moon that year on the 1st of January, and it was too auspicious. And if he had done it, he would have been murdered even sooner. And so, yeah, people messing with time is a great reason to get killed, which is why I tell people all the time, there's something I call a suicide. So this is so random. Something I like to call a suicide sandwich. And it's a piece of bread with lettuce and mustard on it, because I had that one day during my lunch break. I was fucking home, broke off work, and I was eating that, and I was like, holy shit, if I ever eat this again, like, I'm gonna commit suicide. Like, I'll eat bread with just mustard on it, and that's fine. But like, if I have to put, I don't know, there's something about the lettuce on it. It just made it such an unappetizing sandwich. So anyways, if I'm ever found without that and a suicide note, that's not a real suicide note. Just so you know. But now I put that out there. I don't know. This is going down a rabbit hole.
So if you ever start, like, if this ever catches on big time, are you afraid for your life, Tom Sherman? Like, let's say you start selling like goo gobs of calendars with Brandon Thomas's cum gutters on each and every fucking page.
Right.
Are you worried that like the powers that be are going to be upset with you?
I mean, no. Yeah, maybe, but no. I mean, I've been into all sorts of interesting research and thought processes for a long time. I've been paranoid about people before, and one of the things I realized was, I mean, let them watch. You know what I mean? Let them come get me, and we'll talk then. I think right now I'm way too far under anybody's radar to really be a problem. But yeah, I don't know. I think big calendar is actually, here's what I think about it though, really is I think that the calendar and time is one of those things that it's almost like a lost science. It's like lost knowledge. People don't really even know. So like, yeah, it's in the best interest of the powerful people to maintain the current system we have. And the fact that it is so confusing and jarring, and it makes you, go live in cognitive dissonance from month to month, works in their favor. I think that's true. I just don't think they actually know, I don't think they actually know the inner workings of it. I think they think it's this mystical, magical thing just as much as any of us do. And so I'm not really worried about, people. I'm not really worried about it. And you know what I mean? Like, if you're out there and you want to kill me over this, I'll work with you. Like, hey, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'll help you figure out how to use time on your side. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just need to get paid. I just need $20,000 a year.
Tom Sherman is out right now. You heard it here first, folks. Tom Sherman is ready to sell out. So if you come with the money, Tom's like, all right,
Hey.
I'll fucking make the fucking calendar whatever
Well,
you want.
I'm wondering on that note of like commercializing this, like where do you even take this to? Is there even like a calendar convention? Because it seems like it's a done deal. Like there's nobody else clamoring
Like
to
people are going
change
to be
this up
selling
again.
like puppies and like sweet like hot rod cars on their calendars. And Tom's like, no, that's faggot bullshit. That's fake and gay. This is the real calendar that
Right.
you've been being lied to. How do you
Right, but I'm
sell it?
just like, what's the audience? Like, where do you go? Like, I guess outside of going on podcasts and interviews and stuff, but is there like a place within the market where you're like, hey, I've got this new thing that will be a huge commercial success if you follow it? Or like,
Right.
how do you even get into that space?
Yeah, that's the $1 billion question, because I know it's got potential. I know it's got potential, but I know it's not this. You know what I mean? This is what I'm currently selling to people. And I know that's not it. You know what I mean? Nobody uses a wall calendar. This is a completely novelty
Dude,
object.
people use wall calendars, but they use wall calendars that they can actually use.
That's fair. The
Now, for someone like a farmer, that is something that possibly they could use, right?
They could hang it
Like
on their wall. They could be tracking their stuff
they can
year to
track their
year,
stuff.
flip back to
That
the
makes
beginning,
sense
and
to
they're
me,
there.
dude.
Yeah.
Because to me, like whatever the fuck we call like the end of summer is not fall, and fall has like yeah, like what you're saying makes more sense to me, that we are
Right.
like missing a season in there. Like
Right.
it feels like that there is something there, and like intrinsically, like I feel that you're right. Um, and we have to think of a way to market this, buddy. We got to
So
find some sexy conspiracy theorist ladies. We got to
right.
find
Yeah,
some
I like
that'll.
Date's mind just always go, we just need boobs. Like, no matter
Right.
what it is, we need boobs.
Need more boobs. More boobs will always help sell the product. Yeah, I mean, here's the deal is you're right, where Thomas, where like finding that path into industry is going to be huge. And because like the system behind the wall calendar is where the money's at, as far as it's back in that slideshow, the difference of how we're currently looking at data and how we could be looking at data, and finding those information arbitrages to make money, whether it's from the logistics of a company, like, being more efficient or whatever. I do think industry is the way to go, because there's one calendar right now that the federal government recognizes besides the Gregorian calendar, and it's called the 52-53 week calendar. And the IRS allows it as an accounting method. So
Interesting.
yeah, it's the only one. And one of the things that this calendar didn't do, like the Kodak calendar and Elizabeth Achilles, they both those people tried to go through Congress, go through the United Nations, go through government bureaucracy to get calendar changes done, and that's when it goes to die. Um, the 52-53 week calendar was created by commerce, by businesses in the 20s and 30s, because they were trying to measure month to month sales and year to year sales. But since, like, for example, in January this year, we have 5 weekends, and then next year, January is going to have 4 weekends. Like, you can't really have that comparable data. So they created this set calendar that has 52 weeks in it, and then that's it. And then they start the next year after 364 days. And then every 7 or 8 years, depending on the number of leap years within those previous 7 or 8 years, they add a full week at the end of the year for a 53rd week. And so that's the only one that's been observed by the IRS so that people can use it. So I think that's definitely the way in for this system, is finding industries, finding businesses to adopt it and experiment with it, and then kind of going in through the back door rather than trying to, kick down the front.
That's interesting, man. Yeah, you have to look like you're not a threat. And maybe you're so small you're not a threat, but maybe what you are actually suggesting would be a threat to the status quo, which is fascinating. I don't know how much work you've done with like the permaculture folks. some of like the hippies. Like, dude, honestly, dude, I didn't even know this fucking existed, and this was like pre me conspiracy days. Like I had gotten to know some hippie girls and this one fucking weird guy that owned a restaurant, and they were really into because I'm food service. I had been. I worked in food service for like 16 years as a chef, and so there was a lot of farm to table stuff. I'm here on the West Coast, right? They do a lot of the farm to table, sustainable, like fucking local, all that kind of fun stuff. And so I got to know some of the hippie farmers that were like providing us lettuce, and like I want, like, especially as a chef, I would do my own ordering, I'd be doing my own inventory, so I was like looking out to all this like buy fresh, buy local kind of thing. And I ran into some of these weird hippie folks that like literally had the best lettuce I'd ever fucking seen in my life. And like you're like, holy shit, it's like alive when you're eating it. And you're like looking for microgreens, like these beautiful little like bull blood, like arugula, tiny little motherfuckers that like are just bright and like beautiful on your fucking plate. And these hippies, these farmers were going by something called like biodynamic farming. I don't know if you're familiar with that at all, that concept. It kind of blew my fucking mind because I was looking at this from a fucking normie's perspective, but like they have their own fucking calendar. They have their calendar for when they fucking plant and grow things. They have stuff that makes sense to them. Like, but they were also doing weird stuff. They were like grabbing like fucking like, I don't know, like they were like their fucking period blood and wiping it on a ram's horn and smashing it into the ground and then planting their turnips under it and stuff under a certain moon, under a certain fucking like constellation. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you just did or why you're doing what they do. But you know what? Their goddamn arugula was on point. So maybe that fucking like little pap smear they did with a ram's horn and then smash it into the ground, it actually does something. I don't know. But like, I feel that maybe there is a little open opportunity. Like if you start hanging out with like the crunchies at the farmer's market and start like, hey, you ever seen this? Hey, what do you think about this? And you start talking to maybe some of these biodynamic little like sexy white witches. You know what I mean? Like, I think you can get in and probably get your dick sucked too. I don't know if you're married, kids, but you can probably get some sweet, like, they might have fleas though, but you can get some sweet, like patchouli strange. Just saying, Tom.
Yeah, it's an interesting crew that's interested in the calendar, and hippies are definitely one of them. They're, hippies, farmers, rebels, like it's people that are science nerds, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of a lot of disparate folks. But yeah, I mean, everybody, that's the thing, is that's why I know that this thing is big, because everybody, like, and one of the problems when I'm trying to figure out a market or how to bring it out into the world is like there's so much, it's overwhelming. There's like every industry, every person uses a calendar in their daily lives to run their personal life, their professional life, you know what I mean? Like, so since this is a better measurement, this is literally like a better ruler, right? Whereas previously you had a ruler that was sometimes 11 inches and then it had to be 13 and then sometimes 12. And then, so you had to carry around like a whole bag of different rulers to measure anything. Like this is the complete opposite. This is a standard tape measure that you can whip out and measure anything, anytime, and have a better understanding of your time, your energy, your data that is going through the system. So that's the crazy part is literally, I know that anybody who uses this system in their, like, in pound for pound up against the current one they're using, it's going to be better every time. So, but but I can't tell people how to use time, right? Like I can't say, hey, on the first Earth Day, take your period blood and smash it down in the ram's horn. You know what I mean? I don't know those processes yet. So it's kind of one of those, I got to go meet everybody and I got to bring it to everybody so that they can do their personal research and kind of figure out how this system works for them, because I know it's better. You know what I mean? It's guaranteed. You know what I mean? 10,000 year guarantee. I don't see any Gregorian calendar come with that. I don't see any Gregorian calendar come with a user guide. Mine comes with a user guide. People ask me all the time to explain how the calendar works. And I tell them, like, they don't ask how the calendar works before they buy a new one, at the end of the year. And yet you want me to tell you how my calendar works? You put it
Well,
on the
you're gonna
wall.
have
You
to,
go from
buddy,
day to
because you're
day.
telling them
Like,
on a new mythos. Like,
that's-
because this, like, his time and is all a construct, and the way that we're measuring days kind of is a construct. And you are gonna have to sell them on this myth, because why are they believing that this day is the 13th instead of the 25th, like the fucking their calendar says?
Yeah, that's the
And when
most
they're fucking
expensive
showing
part
up to
on it.
work, they're like, I'm not supposed to work today. Tom Sherman said that this is actually, I get my 1 day off right now, and so I'm fucking taking today off.
Mid-season.
So you are going to have to fucking sell them on it a little bit. But fascinatingly enough, dude, I think the idea of like busting into like some of those like weird farmer stuff, I think is a fucking interesting and cool idea, dude, because I don't think they know why they do what they do. Some of them, like some of it is so ritualistic. Like
Right.
I was trying to understand it, and it's really occulted too, because I was trying to like bust in and do some research on it. And I was like, what do you do? Why do you do this under a fucking full moon? But like there's actually like some scientific like explanations for some of it, and sometimes like the educated ones can actually give you a fucking good reasonable explanation for why they're like, no, we plan it under this like fucking blood moon or whatever, it's because of this, and then it actually makes sense, and you're like, holy shit, their vegetables are like on point, they're fucking fire. Yeah, man, I don't know, dude, but like you coming in there with a like you're actually saying like, hey, my measurement is my measurement. So you're like, if I actually say my dick is 6 inches, I measured it with my fucking ruler right now, and it's not 5.5. No, it really is 6, and it's every time. I swear, baby. Like,
Yeah.
like
But you're like,
can
but I
get
make
people
my own
look-
ruler. I've got my own ruler.
I've got my
but
own
your
ruler.
Yeah.
I got a 12-inch stick. Yeah. It's I mean, but so like here's how I like to compare the old calendar with the new calendar is like one of the ways to describe it is a fixed measure versus a floating measure. And a floating measure in the measurement standards industry is much preferred because you can take a floating measure anywhere you want and measure something. So think about like the difference between a boulder with a ruler carved into it and the boulder's in Omaha, Nebraska. And if you want to measure something, you have to bring that item out to Nebraska, put it up to the boulder and measure it versus having that same ruler measurement on a 12-inch stick that you can carry with you wherever you want. And you can bring it up to objects anywhere in the world and measure them. That's the difference between the old calendar and new calendar. Old calendar, in order to measure anything with it, you have to bring it to that calendar and measure it according to its specific system of 30 days, 28, 31, 30, 30, 31, whatever, versus this one where I can bring this calendar to any data set at any given point in time and deploy it and accurately and coherently measure a week, a month, a year, a season, in perpetuity, and come back with comparable data, come back with actionable results and insights from it.
That's fascinating, man. Yeah, I like it, dude. And it does make sense to me. And dude, I wish you luck, dude. What are your plans? What are your plans on how are you going to make this adoptable to the masses?
You want the master plan? The master plan is so right now we're in step one, phase one of novelty calendar sales. One of the things I'm working on is building an app. Everybody wants an app for their phone, and so I'm working on that. That should be released at some point, hopefully within the next couple months. Then I think here's one of the things I think that would be a great use for this wall calendar system is as a novelty marketing device for tourist industries, or kind of like what you're saying with like think about like a farm to table ecosystem of like, I could get the farmer, I could get a couple restaurants, I could get a couple people to chip in to, make this like a nice marketing distributable that then goes and sits in one of their customers' houses for the next 10,000 years and reminds them on the daily of most people that do have a wall calendar get it from a marketing distributor anyway. Anyways, so something like that, and then slowly work my way more and further deeper into commerce and industry, and ideally, if I could pair with a big company like, you know what I mean, because that's where most people, their time gets dictated from anyways, is their employer. So and like we said, the IRS is a way into calendar change and that sort of thing. So if basically trying to figure out that where's that path into creating a enterprise software system or partnership with some sort of company and industry, just to, and then but anyways, long story short, the cat's already out of the bag. And the fact that I'm sitting here with you talking about it just shows that it can't go away. It's too late for any of that. So basically the plan is to keep on selling as many calendars as I can and keep on spreading the word about it as long as I can. And until
Tom Sherman, you're also going to need white women to adopt this. This is absolutely necessary for all things, every movement. They need white women to adopt it. Like, even to become the president, you need like the white suburban woman to like think you're fuckable, or else you're not going to get in there. Like, there's been enough that looked at Orange Man and said, like, I'd rustle his toupee while he pounds my snatch. Like, that is absolutely necessary, or you're not going to get in there. So, like, what do white women love more than anything?
Crystals.
Besides like White Claws, besides like Black Dick and things like that, what they love the most is astrology. So I heard you say before that you love, or not that you love, this is what white women love, that you were naming the like days after like different months. How is your calendar different? Is there like, so if there's only 10 months in yours, what are the names of them? Which ones have you kicked out? Do these have like, can you tie this to the constellations? And does this change what sign I am?
You're still the same sign.
Change the whole astrological calendar, dude. You're gonna have to have a mythos behind this that people can buy in and feel like they can adopt it and be like, "Oh, I'm a Libra, blah 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 blah," and this is a retrograde son of a bitch. Like, you're gonna have to fucking like you need white women on board. So sell it to me. I am Karen. I am drinking a wine spritzer. I just cheated on my husband and spent way too much money on Amazon. Sell me this calendar, Tom Sherman.
Right. Well, first, I just want to thank you for sleeping with me. I know you have a husband, so that's a lot of, I take a lot of pride in that.
I trusted your ruler. You told me you had 12 inches, Tom Sherman.
No, so here's the astronomy is all the same as far as your sign is still your sign. You're born under that sign. I am working with a couple astrologers to kind of dive a little bit deeper into creating some, or not as much create as unearth a little bit of the traditions and information that might be hidden within the calendar system, the new one. Here's what I think is the cool part is, so since you have 9 days in a week now and your birthday is anchored in time. So for example, my birthday is the 22nd of late fall. It's a Mars day, and it's always a Mars day, and it's always, the 22nd of late fall. That means that cause like right now, if I hadn't done all this research, I wouldn't know what day of the week I was born on. I would just know what my birth date is. Like, that's what most people know. They don't know, were you born on a Sunday or a Thursday? The day of the month you were born on. So now you're going to have that, because we can agree days have certain aspects. They have attributes to them, if it's a Monday or if it's a Friday or whatever. Same thing with if it's a Mercury day or a Venus day or a Pluto day. Those points in time have significance, and it's crazy stuff. Like, for example, July 4th and D-Day both fall on Mars days. And like, I didn't try, I didn't like, I didn't, you know what I mean? I didn't do that on purpose. That's just how it happened. And so there's something very warlike about Mars days because it's the god of wars. The, and personally, here's how I just believe about astrology is that I think the power of it does come from when you're born, the time of year you're born in, people are acting differently. Like if you're born in November, December, people are in the middle of the holiday rush, the frantic stuff or whatever. If you're born in, it's cold, you're not going outside much. If you're born in May or June, you're a summer baby, you're getting these long days. People are happy, people are outside, people are doing barbecues or whatever. And so like, I don't know if it's because you're born and the stars are in certain positions that infuses traits upon you, or if it's because when you're born and those stars are in those certain positions, people are acting certain ways that you're going to pick up and you're going to emulate and you're going to adopt as part of your character. Either way, that can happen within this calendar system, and those answers that you're looking for, Karen, they're in here, and you just gotta find them.
All right, but you're gonna have to hire like some hippie girl that's going to you need a good like PR person,
right? No,
yeah.
I appreciate. I'm not going to take any offense. Yeah, no, I get it. I'm working on it.
Are you buying a calendar, Karen?
His dick was not 12 inches.
It was. If you use the right measurement system, it is. I'm just saying.
All right. I love it, man. Yeah, dude, this was fun. This was fucking fascinating. What are a couple more things? Did we miss anything? What do we need to know, Tom, about your calendar?
So the newcalendar.com is the website. That's where you'll be able to find, you'll be able to get a copy, find, other information, all that sort of good stuff. Social media channels are all at the New Calendar. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. I don't know, man. I think that's about it. Did you tell me, what did we miss?
Why do I need this as opposed to the cute kitty one that I have? He's hanging on that thing that says hang in there.
Right.
Why do I need your calendar?
He's just gonna have boobs. There you go. There's your answer.
You gotta have boobs for the men, but you also, for the Karen with the astrology, you gotta have some hot guy with some sweet cum gutters and a nice, like, his shirt off. It has to be kind of tasteful. They have to like not think they're looking at porn, but it also has to get them like going. So it's got to be like maybe he's saving the kitten out of the tree. So you kind of get both. So you get like the kitten, it's like cute, but also it's like a hot guy saving a kitten out of a tree.
Yeah, I can't respond to that necessarily, but I will say this is why you need it is the New Calendar will keep you in tune with the natural cycles of the world and solar system that we're going through.
This is what I want you to tell them. Individualize. How does this make my life better looking at your calendar, Tom? Tell me, like, what is this like to help me organize my life better, help me grow my own garden, help me like keep sense and track of like a natural calendar and or time like in my head. Like, give me the pitch, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to break you free from the shackles of illusion that you live in. So that's step one is all of a sudden you're going to be living in a world where you're free for the first time in your entire life.
How much does milk cost in this world?
How much does milk cost? Standard amount.
New world with the 5 seasons. How much does milk cost?
It's that's between you and the farmer. You know what I mean? Those are the contracts. I can't dictate. See, people always, this is the problem with calendars, is they're always created by popes and dictators and that sort of thing. And people are looking to me to tell them what to do. I'm just trying to break you all free. I can't tell you what to do. I can't tell you what milk prices to sell at. Like I'm just a guy in Delaware. I'm nobody. I'm nothing.
So Nate had a really good suggest. I really do agree with like the targeting, the woo-woo demographic, like the astrology. There's another thing too. If you look at historically, anyone that's ever introduced a successful calendar in history, I think they've killed like 100,000 people minimum, probably a lot more than that. So if you just add that to your business plan, that at some point you just massacre at least 100,000 people.
A good demographic. Like, who's somebody that we could do without? Like,
see, that's why I'm zagging while everyone zigs. All the time creators out there are into the oppression and murder. I'm trying to go to the other side and say, this is for this is for everybody. I need those 100,000 sales. I can't afford to lose any 100,000 sales.
You have to break some eggs to make an omelet, Tom Sherman.
I mean, I'm legitimately thinking, because if you're going after IRS, that's one angle. But if you could convince anyone in the military that there is any sort of military, like a strategic reason to get behind this, because it means we can kill more people and break more of their stuff, then that's another angle into this.
Sure. Well, when you put it like that, I thought you meant me personally.
Well, I mean, that,
lining up 100,000 people. But
ideally, if you could do that, then you don't have to split the profit with anyone. If you do this angle, then you got to split the profit with the government, which is not going to be as big of a cut for you, I don't think.
I think we'll be able to finagle them pretty good. They don't know what's going on. But yeah, the military. I mean, military people actually are a big fan of this calendar. I've sold a bunch to former and current military, because they already view time a little bit differently since they're on military time, 24-hour clock, and so this helps with coordination and precision of timing, either creating plans, creating missions, whatever, maintenance. The military also uses the Julian calendar as well as the Gregorian calendar for a lot of their maintenance, because the Julian calendar is fixed, so that between day 0 and 365, they know that the last time they changed the rotors on the helicopter was day 282, and so they need it for precision. So this calendar is top notch for precision, accuracy, and logic. And then also here's another way that it can help you personally is each calendar comes with a temperature and sunlight chart for each month. So it gives you the averages at 3 different latitudes. So it gives you the average temperatures and it gives you the daily sunlight amount. So no matter where you are in the continental US, no matter what time of year it is, you'll be able to ground yourself a little bit better and just kind of just exist in the world in a more natural environment and just be attuned to what's going on better than anyone else around you.
I like it, man. That's awesome. I think that you've sold us, man. I like it. My one suggestion is you need to sell anything, dude. Like, I think that there has to be like almost quasi-religious fervor behind it. So it has to be a mythos that you sell. Like, if you're trying to sell something new, if you like, to me, when you're trying to change a paradigm, you have to have a system behind it that is like alluring and sexy. That
everybody wants me to start a cult. That's what they all say.
You kind of have to do everything that is a cult.
Yeah,
Tom Sherman.
Every
single
mindset. The root word of culture is cult.
A cult. Yeah.
So
and, pop
I'm down.
Culture,
look,
right?
Totally
everything
down to start a cult. Yeah.
Just don't diddle kids and like tell people to drink Kool-Aid, and then it's going to be great, Tom Sherman. Unless you do that, and then I don't know, just whatever. I hope you sell a lot of calendars.
Look, so can I just go on the record and say I don't do that? Can we clear that up right now before this podcast goes out?
He's gonna edit it out anyways.
Tom Sherman, so you better.
Good. I'm glad we could get that out of the way. Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. I'm on board. I'm starting a cult, but it's going to be a good one. It's going to be an upstanding cult with we're in it for the right reasons, which is the people, and we're not in it for the money and the sex and the power. And even though that's all going to come along with it, like that's not, that's just people wanting to give that to us as, that's not me going out and seeking it.
I love it, Tom. All right. So one more time, tell everybody where they can buy your calendar. What's the best way to support you? What's the best places to follow you? All the fun stuff.
All right. thenewcalendar.com, www.thenewcalendar.com. That's the website. A lot of good information on that, extras, other podcast media appearances that I've been on. And you can get a copy there. Also follow us on social media, at The New Calendar. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. That's where you can find it. And then great podcasts such as this.
Hell yeah. And Thomas, what are we promoting tonight, buddy?
I guess oh man, I just cleaned up my whole desk, so I've only got these two on hand. So we've got the MK Ultra pamphlet. If you don't already have one of these, it is the one that popped me onto the market, and it basically breaks down the entire history of Project Bluebird, Project Shatter, MK Ultra, all the ones that came after it. We touch into all the different Fidel Castro assassination plans, JFK, RFK, just anyone you can think of, all the way up until basically modern day and Facebook. So that's the MK Ultra comic. And then shout out to the homie Juan, who is the only living homunculologist on the planet that helped co-write this homunculus owner's manual that breaks down the entire concept of what a homunculus is, how to create one, how to kill one, how to harvest its blood to give you special magical powers. And it's done in style, as you can see here. And a cool little announcement is that I don't know if you can see in the very, very fine print all the way down there. So there's one of these pages that talks about the homunculus growing kit, which I've finally put together. We figured out a way to, because the original one had some sort of a venom, like a snake venom in it that was illegal to sell outside of Florida lines. It's like a whole long. Anyways, we found a non-venomous way to create a homunculus, and we got it all approved. So I'm just waiting on the product design. So that'll be done in the next month or so. And Nate's always giving me this look like you can't tell if I'm joking or not. This one's not a joke. This one's legit.
So you can grow your own homunculus at home.
It's going to come with little beakers. It'll come with a special little powder that you definitely can't ingest. It's going to have a big warning sign legally. Have to have a little warning thing on it. And it comes with a little placeholder homunculus for like a trial run. But you have to provide your own semen and horse uterus for the rest of it. But we provide everything except for the semen and the uterus.
Sounds like
Thomas, there's going to be some angry farmers that Tom Sherman is trying to woo right now. When there's a slew of horse lanes, when there's uteruses going missing, that's the only thing that's happening from these horses.
Well, they don't go missing. Usually, the uterus comes along with the horse or the cow. There are some examples of homunculi where they remove the uterus first and then they put it in. But usually what you want to do is and I'm not even making this up. This is in the homunculus owner's manual, but you would take, say, like a cow or a horse, and you basically plug it up with all of the goodies, but then you seal it. You like basically put a cork in it and you spackle it, and you make sure that it stays in there, and you let the cow or the horse or whatever slowly decompose over time. And as Juan always likes to shout out, you find the biggest dog dick you can find, and you use that to beat the carcass of the cow until it turns into like a mush. And then when that mush starts to decay, the flies come in and they lay the maggots in it. And this is all part of the process. And at a certain point, you get a little buddy.
Yeah, buddy. And shout out to the branch. The branch says this is like a demonic sea monkey kit.
Well, I want to just point out there is a disclaimer in one of these that says our kits do not contain any demon semen. Actually, there's less than 2% of traces of demon semen in some kits, but that's under the typical acceptable level that we don't even have to claim it. So it's actually, we're being completely transparent by mentioning that our kits has less than 2% demon semen.
I like it, dude. I like it. And you want to give any shout outs to legwarts.com?
We're still working on it. It's not up yet. Legwart.com. We don't have the money.
Legwart.
We're going to have
Okay.
to start raising funds to get legwarts.com and .org and all those.
Yeah.
But me and Ghost have been working on a new men's health awareness campaign called legwart.com. It's completely serious, not a joke. And you would go to it and it'll either ping you from where your location's at, or if you're ultra paranoid and you don't let the browser know who you are, you turned off your geolocation, you can type in any address and it'll automatically give you the emails, the addresses, the phone numbers of all your local representatives, all the way up to the president if you want to take it that far, and a convenient way to email pictures of your own leg warts to your representatives so that they'll start taking this more seriously.
Aren't you glad that exists, Tom Sherman?
Hell yeah. I got some emails I need to send out.
Legwart.com. It'll be up soon. It's not up yet, but
No, it's
hopefully
weird, 'cause
in
I
the
looked for
future.
it the other day.
It's not exclusive to Legwart. We do bat wings. We do what they call bubblegum scrotum. We're going to cover all of these different sort of conditions that people laugh about, but when you're in the military and you see so many people have the exact same condition and no one's taking it seriously, the only thing we can do is raise awareness and make sure that our normie civilian politicians know way more about these things.
Well, shout out to anybody that has bubblegum scrotum. I'm sorry that happened to you in protecting our wonderful country. You are the hero we didn't know we needed. And thank you for accepting that horrible thing that happened to you. And we appreciate you. All right. That's sincere.
Thank you for your service.
Realities ours. Yeah. Thank you for your service. And Thomas, do you want to close out on Moonchild? Do we want to listen to the fucking?
Oh, do you have it loaded up?
I got it loaded up. So
Play
Tom
it
is
off,
also,
Play us off.
as well as a comic book publisher. He also makes wonderful music videos and music, and we do all kinds of fun stuff because Thomas is amazing.
Yeah, if anyone wants a custom song and music video and logo and all that, hit me up. It's not free anymore. It used to be free up until today, but now it's not free. But it's reasonable. It's very reasonable.
So we are listening to the new music, the song that he wrote, and the music video that he made with AI. It is called Moonchild. And this is all about the Scarlet Woman getting impregnated in the desert by Aleister Crowley, trying to bring about the Antichrist, aka the Moonchild. All right. Here we go. Let's do it.
It's got demons. It's got a few.
This was the YouTube version.
She's filled with semen in a circle under the moon. Oh, she's a moon child. It's a magical brew. Oh yeah, the moon child summoning demons in you. Yeah, she's a moon child. You don't need your tongue to kiss, but if you're a child, girls make a homunculus. It's a ritual in the desert night, but I just might, if it's right, make it habitual. I just might. It takes a wicked individual to inseminate this moonchild. She's a moonchild, it's a magical brew. Oh yeah, that moonchild summoning demons in you. Yeah, she's a moonchild. You don't need your tongue to kiss, but if you're she's got demons. Yeah, she's got a few. She's filled with semen in a circle under the moon. She's a moon